Hey there, boys, girls, the YouTube world. Today, the Duff Dog and I are going to be working on my 1962 Chevrolet Shortbed, two-wheel drive, big back window, wide box, yada, 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 AKA White Lightning. And White Lightning's, it's got an issue here. It's kind of got a tacoed frame. Kind of looks like an inverted banana. It's got a Carolina lean, Carolina squat. It's got the dog dragging its butthole against the lawn. What else am I missing? I don't know. Anyway, the back bumper is way too close to the ground, not because of the drop, but because the frame is tweaked. So this is a 62, and I think it's 60 to 62 got boxed frames on these pickups, and then 63 on up don't. 62 on down got torsion bar suspension. 63 on up got regular twin control arm coil spring suspension. But long story short, this thing's rusty in the frame. It's kind of an amateur restoration. I would guess it's probably from the 80s or the 90s. I picked this thing up about close to 10 years ago for like 2,500 bucks. Drove it on the trailer, got it home, put these 70 Pontiac hubcaps on it, cranked the torsion bars way down. I've put tires on it since then. Yeah, pretty much I just lowered this thing. The paint was falling off the hood and the right front fender was in really bad shape, so I put a different one on and got the hood painted, put a different seat in it, put a different steering wheel on. Just a bunch of little stuff, but pretty much I just lowered this thing and drove the crap out of it. It's got a 235 with a 3-speed overdrive. The 235 doesn't even hardly have enough power to pull the overdrive, especially if there's any wind, but it works good. This pickup's just, it's great. Duff can ride in it. We can haul stuff in it. It's dead reliable. Jump in, hit the key, go. So anyway, long story short, in the long term, I want to make a new frame. Probably steal the one out of that 64 Chevy step side that we did a while back. Can put 73 to 87 front suspension in it so we get disc brakes, power steering, 5-lug wheels, all that stuff. But that's gonna take time, and I know it'll snowball into more work than that, and V8 swapping it, LS, or who knows what, new exhaust. For the meantime, let's fix the frame on this thing, because I might be taking this thing to the Lone Star Roundup April 19th and 20th. Come say hi to us, pick up some swag. Speaking of swag, get your swag. We got the Cinco de Drinko competition coming up May 5th. Get your ball cap, your dirty ball cap competition. We got the softest hoodies and the softest t-shirts and the softest beanies. Get your beanies and your hoodies quick before this weather hopefully disappears. We got the Do banners on hand. We got crown banners, we got low life banners, we got magnetic screwdrivers, we got some super scrapers on hand, we got decals. You name it, we got it. If you don't got it, you don't need it. Check it out, mortske.com. But anyway, let's get this thing lifted up in the air. I'll show you what's going on. Then I think we're gonna pull the bed off, and then what we're gonna have to do is tie the center of this pickup down and then jack up on the back and get her to go and straighten back out. And I have tried this before. My grandpa had tie downs in his floor in his shop, and we tied it down once and jacked it up, but we couldn't get it. You got to overbend it so that it comes back to where it needs to be. You can see that terrible gap, and it looks like it's even been rubbing on the cab corner down there. But what I was getting at is the cab will touch the box and it doesn't get bent far enough. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna pull the box off so that we can go further. Look at this guy just chomping at the bit for a ride. And since I don't have tie downs in my floor, I think we're gonna put it on the rollback. Try using that, or one of the car trailers. And then we'll like tie it to the car trailer. I think you gotta tie it in the middle and the front, and then we'll jack up on the back. And if we're crazy, maybe we'll plate it up. Like I said, long term, I don't need this thing. And this thing's, it's a presentable pickup, but I mean, like I said, the paint's coming off around the fuel tank. There's chips there. And it's got some rust. It's got a pile of mud in it. We did get the other bedside fixed up. Some gentleman in a dent side Ford with a topper that he couldn't see out of backed into me. So this bedside just got repainted. Shout out to Kalita Lision in Lidgerwood, North Dakota for hooking us up. They banged her out real quick. And then, like I said, this fender, I had another guy repaint in the hood, but somehow I since got a chip there. And something ran into me there, or I ran into it, little whiskey dent. So we're gonna jack this thing up. I think it's just bolts through the center of the bed floor that hold the bed to the chassis. I don't know. I should stick a new board in there and over there. Yeah, and probably one there. But anyway, yeah, it's just these carriage bolts there, and there. So it looks like 8 bolts. And then I'm guessing we're gonna have to undo some taillight wiring. But I'm hoping we can just use the lift and lift the box off and then put her on the rollback. You hear that? It's the freaking wind. That's the other thing. We might have to make room in the shop to do this because we're gonna need some tools and if we're gonna try to film it. And it is freaking terrible outside. Can we see the flag? Yeah. Like my flagpole is ready to get ripped out of the ground. We're in a winter weather or something or other. Oh, there's Bob. Perfect timing. Yeah, that's definitely not 65-mile-an-hour traffic. And old Bob's an experienced driver because that's all he does is drives around. So, let's get after it. Let's get this thing jacked up in the air and start pulling some bolts out. At some point, I'm gonna have to turn it around, but I don't want to turn it around just yet. So, let's do this. Are you gonna help or what? Or are you just gonna hang out on your dog bed? Oh yeah, I opened a door, so now you're all of a sudden readily available. I should probably adjust the door latches. Can I roll this thing by myself? Looks like we're pushing some gravel. That front cross member. Oh, lowered pickup things. For anybody who says you can't drive lowered pickups, I'll prove it to you. Good stuff. Yeah, that cross member, it's got a few battle scars. That's a good one right there. Oh yeah, we found all the mud. I'm gonna have to sweep now. So like I said, this pickup isn't perfect. It's had the floors patched. It probably could use some cab mounts. And there's I don't even think those are screws. Those look like spiral nails or something. She's cobbled, and I can't take blame for it. But yeah, here's the frame. It's boxed. You can see it's rusted through. You can see it's been patched together. It had the factory overloads on it. I took those off when I put the 5-inch lowering springs in the back. It needs exhaust. It needs hangers. It needs a lot of help. Park brake cables are just kind of hanging for dear life. But yeah, that's the big spot in the frame. Let's get her taken apart and see what we can figure out. We're probably gonna have to pull it off a couple times. Pull it off and set it on and mess with it, because out there it looks like it's bent here. Ooh, and it probably is. She's a little wavy right there, but I thought it would all be bent back here, because see, it's just a single C channel up there, and then this cross member comes back here, and then it's boxed from there on back. And that, of course, wow, that's bad. That's the worst spot. But anyway, they put this receiver hitch on it, and I tried using it one time a little bit too aggressively. I think that's where most of this comes from. So let's pull some bolts out and get her up in the air, go from there. Yowza, that is bad. All right, we'll get a better view of it in a minute. And it looks like we could use some new racing slicks. Good stuff. All right, got a little room over here. Apparently there's a snowdrift out front we almost got stuck in. The other thing is we need some heat, and there's some oil over there warmed up, so we got to use that stall because I don't think we're going to get the rollback in here and tilted and get the pickup on it, plus have the bed on the lift. So I don't think we got enough room in this side of the shop, so we got to make room on that side of the shop. And there's an oil barrel over there, so we're going to move an oil barrel and empty it so we can do it in the heat. That ain't going nowhere.
He's going nowhere. Where you going? Nowhere.
So we got a little stake pocket action. We thought about running boards across and then tying it to that, but then we got to sacrifice boards cut to the right length. And you can't really go underneath and put the pads down here because there's not a lot of strength there. And anyway, this seems like the best idea. Right, Duff? Right. You like playing outside in the snow, don't you? Even when it's a blizzard. Yeah. All right. You want to run this up? Here, if I lift up on the back, tighten those up, and then maybe it'll bring it back. I brought it away from the front. What? I brought it away from the bottom. Yeah. All right, box is off and the surprises keep coming. Let's take a look. Look at the sags in the paint, and there's just an insane amount of mud in the front of that bed. But they did apparently paint the frame black when they had it apart. You can see everything's off so far that they had to oblong the holes for the bed mounts. That's probably the way it's supposed to be. I don't feel like it's supposed to be slotted at an angle like that. You can see where they patched the frame there. She's all rotten there. It's torn up over there. They patched it on that side, and then the top of the frame is bent down right there. And on this side it goes up. She's in pretty sad shape, so I don't know where to quit. Let's just try to get it so the bed looks good sitting on there, and we'll go from there. We got the rollback inside and the bed up. Suppose it'll drive up on there, Duff? You may never know. Oh, you like them tires? Snow tires?
All them burnouts, man.
I bet this thing's terrible on snow now without a bed on it and bald tires. Should we go whip some donuts, see if we can't knock the back window out?
Probably very hard.
Oof, that frame is... she's something else. And I think this is supposed to be riveted on. That bump stops, that's welded on. And then this cab mount should have rivets there, and it looks like the rivets have been torn loose and re-welded. bad news. Here's our casualties of war. We did scratch up the back of the cab corner a little bit. So, not too worried about it. Be a good time to clean up the back of the cab. Yeah, you can see all the mud in this thing. Definite amateur resto, but I knew that when I bought it. She's a good beater with a heater. Duff, speaking of heaters, you want to go for a ride? Of course we do. Exhaust leak. All right, now we got a tire down and put a jack on it and try to figure out how much up or down or twist or tweak we gotta go. Yeah, you can definitely tell this side is lower than that side, and it makes sense seeing how crappy the frame is over there. Right, Duff? Right. The Jolly Green Giant's telling you what to do today. Or you're telling him what to do.
Telling me what to do.
All right, let's get this thing secured and go from there. Oh, this exhaust is so bad. This whole pickup is so bad and so good all at the same time. Curiosity's got the best of me. So this is the rear driver's side cab mount. Is that freaking Bondo on there? It's like they tried to hide it. I suppose you could see it through the seam in the back of the box. So I know there's supposed to be rivets here. It looks like, oh yeah, there's bolts in there. And so they put filler or silicone or something around it to try to make them look like rivets. Yeah, so I don't know why they put that and then just on the bolt heads to make it look like rivets. Did they do it on these ones? Kinda looks like it. So clearly somebody's had this body mount off and this frame was tweaked. Oh yeah, there's like a big spacer on this bolt. Well, not a spacer, there's a big nut on this cab mount bolt. So, this frame is, she's hot garbage. So we're not hurting anything good here, I guess what we're getting at. All right, I think what we're gonna do is, like I said, you gotta tie the front down. So what we do is, I think it's kinked right in here. I know it's kinked right in there. And I know it's kinked back. Settle down, Duff. So if we tie it down here and we jack up back there, it's gonna load against the suspension, so we need to block it up there. I don't know. It's kind of a, what's your problem? We're back here trying to do stuff on the frame rack. Duff. Are you gonna help or what? Silly dog. I was telling the people, we don't really know what we're doing, so we're just kind of winging it. So we're gonna put a chain here, and we're gonna put a jack back there, and we gotta put stands up here, so when we lift up back there, it's gonna wanna come down up here, so we gotta have stands to keep it from going down. And then I feel like we're gonna have to have it chained in 2 spots, just from experience. Whatever. We're winging it, right, Duff? Yeah, we're winging it. We're winging it. All the scratches. All right, I need to go round up some chains. You gonna show them what we got, Duff? All right, we got jack stands underneath each frame rail in the front. We got a chain going over the top of both frame rails, tied to the rollback. And then we got our, I don't know what this thing is, 3-ton-ish floor jack, Chinese made thinger. And we're gonna put a block under there and start going. We know that this corner of the bumper is lower. We should have taken some dimensions, measurements when we had it on the ground. But then I don't know how they would transfer up here. Ideally, you would have a frame rack that was nice and true and level. We got a rollback. Rhymes with frame rack, and it's not nice, and it's not true, and it's not parked on level concrete. So we're just gonna wing it. Well, the beauty is, if we go too far, I'm hoping we go too far. Or I'm hoping we nail it perfect, but I know better, because we don't do anything to perfection around here. But if we go too far, then we just tie it down in the back here, and the front, and jack in the middle until it's perfect. That's the plan anyway. So, I'm gonna start jacking on this thing. I think we're gonna grab 2 jacks. We're gonna jack on this side mostly, and then a little bit on that side. Somely, partly, partially, a little bitly, a skoshly, a tadly. And then everything's gonna be great, grand, wonderful. I got a level out here. Nothing's level, including this bed, so we're just throwing level out the door. This frame is garbage. There's no fixing it. It's just DD Speed shopping it. Getting her close. All right, let's do this. Oh my gosh. Look at how much that frame moves up and down. Chin, come check this out. This thing is just held on by hopes and dreams.
Holy wagon at you. I missed the opportunity to patch a little bit further along, it looks like.
Yeah, it's cracked all the way to the top rail. How come nobody told me that my bumper was waving at him going down the road? So, I guess we're gonna have to do some welding first. Or I don't know what we do here. I think the bed was holding that in place. And I still think it's tweaked right there. So I think we just, for now, we just move the jack up to a more solid surface and get that tweaked. Because if we weld that there now, it's not gonna be good. It ain't gonna be right. So, holy crap. Yeah, glad I didn't pull anything with it, except tail. Yeah, that would be nice to have a lift so that you could go up with your side. I don't know what's moving. Something's got to be moving. Hold on. It's over relief.
Any pressure going through that piston, just pushing by.
Yeah. So here's what we got going on. We know the frame is tweaked, and we know the cab mounts are tweaked. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull the cab mounts off and get them straightened-ish, and then we'll be able to shim the cab to where it needs to be, and we're just gonna assume that this is all straight, and then we're gonna patch this up, and then we might have to straighten that a little bit. But this is snowballing. We're taking cab mounts off because they're torn up pretty bad. I'll get them off and show you, but that one over there is really bad. Unfortunately, this one is the good one. So I'll do that quick. Hopefully it's quick. Oh boy. Take her up to 4. Yeah, I feel like that lug nut on the end isn't supposed to be there. It's kind of run in at an angle, so I don't know if that's the mount or if they got something else going on inside there. We're also due for some body mounts, but of course, I don't have any of them available. Fine thread even. Nice. Fudge. So these bolts aren't cooperating. And we got to get the torch out, knock the rivets off on the other side, so we're just going to torch these kids off, and I should probably support the cab while we're doing it. This thing's a little hot, but you can see how twisted up it really is. Literally every aspect of it is tweaked around. So, take over to the vise, the anvil, bang her around a little bit, persuade it into place. But since we got the torch out, let's go to the other side, get that one off there too. Well, this body mount is held with an encapsulated nut, and the encapsulation device is no longer encapsulated. So we're gonna have to improvise. Maybe locking pliers? Oh my. That's a lot of rust. I think we got her though. Great success.
Great success.
Didn't really want to put any heat up in there because the gas tank is right there. We're already risking our lives taking these off. Look at how twisted that bolt was that was in there. Bad things happened at one point. All right, good enough for the girls we go with. Let's throw those things on there. We're not gonna be riveting them on again. Obviously, we're just gonna use some regular 3/8 hardware. But it's a lot better than they were. Almost resembles a body mount. This one was pretty hammered up, but better than it was. Let's get them back on there. All right, everything lined up pretty well. This one was a little cattywampus, but not bad at all. I don't know how it's gonna line up with the cab. Oh, it's perfect, actually. So I'm gonna leave this loose. We gotta find some new hardware because this thing is all out of alignment. And then obviously we gotta put a nut in there. I might see if I can find a body mount, but I don't think I got anything around. So let's go over to the other side, get that one in there. What do you think, Duff? Look good? I think she does. Everything all back together, both the cab mounts, and everything looks, I mean, I don't see any crazy kinks up here. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the box off the lift. We're gonna put this thing on the lift, and we're gonna try to do a little repair work here. I don't know, I'd like to have it straight when we repaired it, but I don't know how we're gonna do that. So we're just gonna throw it on the lift, start cutting, grinding, get rid of some of this extra excess crap. We're gonna have to do some rewiring. I think between shimming the cab, if we need to get everything to line up, and then what we got going on with the bed mounts, we can shim those. I don't think we really need any straightening other than this corner back here, but I think we're gonna wait till we get some structure in there. Maybe what we'll do is plate it all up, but only weld it on one side and then jack it to where it needs to be and then weld it. I don't know. I really have no idea what we're doing here. So we're just gonna keep rolling with it. That's what we do, Duff. Just roll with it. So let's get this thing back off the lift and do it. Are you falling asleep sitting up? Tired puppy. All right, we are in a blizzard. The wind is howling, cutting right through this place. So you guys are just gonna have to deal with the noise of the air compressor and the furnace. So I'll keep it short and sweet. We gotta knock some weight off this thing because there's a lot of ugly back here, and it's some of that stuff's in the way. Some of the stuff just doesn't need to be there. Some of the stuff is just terrible. Like, look at this hitch. Like, it looks pretty good, you know, it's a receiver tube style. Attached to the bumper, it's pretty cobbly how they got the safety chain notches. But look at how it's tied in. Like, they should have had some angle iron that was the correct width to go all the way from frame rail to frame rail. But they got some 1/2-inch plate there. And then just this little strap here. So we're gonna get rid of all that and a few other things. We might even end up getting rid of a tailpipe and have to schedule an appointment with Boom Tube. But then we're gonna pull the wheel and tire off, get this shock out of the way, see if those are any good. I'm sure they're not, but we gotta get that fixed. Then we'll have to get our wiring out of the way. There, took care of that. Oh, not quite. Come on, fish her through. Keep her moving.
Let's keep her moving.
Anyway, you get the point. We're gonna get some stuff out of the way. I sprayed her down with some Croil, and we're gonna clean her up. And now you'll see why I got the 70 Pontiac hubcaps. Not my favorite, but chrome spokes. So terrible. All right, yeah, maybe someday we should put some different wheels on this thing, but for now, the hubcaps, they don't look terrible, right? Comment down below with what wheels you think we should run, or if we should get a new set of chrome spokes or clean them up. All right, back at it. All right, let me show you what we did here. We made a mess. That's what we did. That's it. Just kidding. No, we did make a mess. Okay, I made a mess. So these brackets back here were stuck to the side of the frame, and they're still warm. And they held a quarter elliptical, like a half a leaf spring, and that was the overloads. You got to get rid of the overloads when you lower these things, otherwise they're on the overloads. You got rid of that big ugly hitch, cut that all up. I don't know what they had going on here. It's almost like they notched it for exhaust, but it was the opposite side of the exhaust, and then they had a notch here and plated it. But anyway, that's all going in the scrap, probably. We'll save the hitch. I kind of want to keep this because it's kind of my bump stop, dragging around the ground. Duff, nobody's here. It's just me knocking on the table back here. You silly pup. Probably just blew some old man's eardrums out on the interwebs. But anyway, we'll save that if we got to put a hitch on something someday, because it's the right size tubing and it's drilled up. And I want to get rid of that hitch because we know this frame isn't going to be that great, and I won't be tempted to hook anything to it. And this frame is worse than I thought. So where that overload spring bracket was, she's rotted through real bad. And where we got a patch goes right up to somebody else's terrible patch, and that's super thin sheet metal there, and it doesn't look like they did a great job of patching it, so it is what it is. I know I like to bash on hacks, and this is some pretty big hackery. We're gonna do some more hackery. Slightly more improved hackery, enlightened hackery, improvised hackery, professional hackery. No, definitely not. Semi-professional hackery. But I'm not gonna make this, we're not gonna, what should be done is all this rust should be cut out. It should be remade. And I would, if this was the only spot. But this frame is twisted. It's bad on the other side. It's been cobbled together. It's got that torsion bar front suspension, which I don't like. It's got a little bit different rear suspension back here. This thing needs a 63 to 66 frame underneath it, which I have out back. And because it runs and drives the way that it is right now, we're just gonna leave it. This 235 always fires up, the tranny shifts good. The brakes on this thing will put you through the windshield. The steering's good, so we're just gonna roll with it. So I'm gonna go see what I can find for some material, and what I can find for material is gonna dictate on how we fix this. So, Duff, would you go look for some material quick for me? That would be great. Give me a little boop boop. All right. Material. Search it out. Sniff it out. Hunt it out. Dig it out. Get off your duff. We interrupt your regular scheduled shenanigans to bring you another wonderful Mortske Minute. This week's Mortske Minute is brought to you none other than by mortskerepair.com. Go check out mortskerepair.com for all your greatest swag. We got sweatshirts, we got t-shirts, we got decals, we got hoodies, we got magnetic can koozies, we got magnetic screwdrivers, we got ball caps, we got beanies. You name it, we got it. If we don't got it, you don't need it. This week's Mortske Minute is brought to you live from the Big Back Window Suite of White Lightning. This week's Mortske Minute is discussing ironworkers. My ironworker is built by Dvorak Machine Company out of Cosmos, Minnesota, population 507. So what is an ironworker? An ironworker is a mechanical machine that uses electricity to power hydraulics in order to modify steel, other materials if you might choose. And the great thing about these things is they'll shear flat iron, angle iron, and they can also punch holes of various sizes and shapes as well. So like I said, my ironworker is built by Dvorak Machine Company, who is a family-owned company in Cosmos, Minnesota. They were originally started by Joe, and then taken over by his son Jim, and then taken over by his son Chuck. So 3 generations of Dvorak's have been running the company since 1949. And in 1949, what they invented was the scissor type machine. That's what I've got here. And in 1974, Joe's son Jim invented the unihydro, which is more of a guillotine type. The original 1949 scissor type was said to be a 50% increase in productivity from the start, so it only goes up from there, which replaced a hacksaw, a drill, and a torch. So now we'll diverge from the Dvorak to Scotchman Industries in Phillip, South Dakota. That's right, little Phillip, South Dakota is getting some publicity. Phillip is a population of just under 800 people in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota. I used to drive past this place all the time when I was going to college, and they are now the creators of Scotchman Industries Ironworkers. So here's a little history on Scotchman Industries. So like I said, Scotchman Industries is located in the middle of nowhere in Phillip, South Dakota. You got to go 100 miles north or south to see a stoplight, and you got to go 85 miles east or west to see a stoplight. So like I said, they are in the middle of nowhere. They currently employ about 69 people, so that's almost 1 in 10 people in Phillip work for Scotchman Industries. So Scotchman Industries has a pretty long lineage in Phillip, South Dakota. It was started in 1956 by Arthur Crotch, which was started as Art Salvage, and then it kind of went on from there. So in 1958, he developed a cattle insecticide applicator under the name of Wick-O-Matic. So how he started with the Wick-O-Matic was he loaned somebody some money to get some cattle insecticide. This guy kind of went belly up, owed Art some money, so the insecticide company wouldn't take the insecticide back, so Art ended up with the insecticide, and he thought the only way to get rid of it is develop a way to let these ranchers apply these things to cattle. So that's where the Wick-O-Matic came from. But unfortunately, the EPA came in and said that insecticide's it's not so good. So they got rid of that. So then he had to expand. So he went from salvage, and then he was doing new end-use automotive parts, and then the Wick-O-Matic came in. And then in the 1960s, he began fabricating and selling farm products such as stock racks, corral panels, gates, portable chutes, stuff like that, also aimed at local ranchers. And that's when Little Scotchman Industries came into play. So in 1967, Art had been a customer of the previously mentioned Dvorak family, and he'd been buying ironworkers. They were kind of moving away from the ironworker, and so that's when Art came in, bought them out, bought the rights and the patents to make these Scotchman ironworkers. So now it's not the Dvorak ironworker, it is now the Scotchman ironworker. This is a 35-ton model. So in 1967, when they brought these to Phillip, South Dakota for manufacturing, they were a pretty small company. By 1972, they had made their 1,000th machine, and by 1973, they were creating 500 machines a year. Base cost MSRP was about $2,100, and the standard model was about $2,900, and that was a standard machine. And if you wanted to get additional dies or spare parts for years, that would add on to the cost as well. They were selling them all over the country and all over the world in the 1970s from tiny little Phillip, South Dakota. And Phillip, South Dakota is so proud of Scotchman Industries that their football team, basketball team, the school, they are the home of the Scotties. They even named their local mascot, the Scotties, after Scotchman Industries. And then in 1979, Little Scotchman wasn't so little anymore, so they dropped the little and became Scotchman Industries Incorporated. Almost 70 years later, Scotchman Industries is still in business and still family run. Art's son Jerry now operates the company in tiny little Phillips, South Dakota. So you have it. That is this week's Mortske Minute, brought to you by mortsky.com. I hope you enjoyed a few little tidbits about Dvorak and Scotchman Industries, both small Midwest communities, 500, 700 people. All right, back to your regularly scheduled shenanigans. So you saw me, I went and grabbed some, I think it's 3.5 inch flat iron, 3 1/4, something like that. It's the perfect height for the frame, is what it is, because we strive for perfection here at Mortske Repair. I got the frame leveled up. It actually leveled up really well. The frame's leveled back here. I got a level at the front of the box and at the back of the box. Leveled out really well. I don't know what the front of the bed's doing. I don't know what the cab's doing. Whatever. You gotta pick your battles. And the battle that Duff is choosing is napping over there by the warden. No, we're not driving that thing today. It is miserable out there. I kind of want to cut that out of there because it really drives me nuts, but I can't do it. We're going to be here forever. So we're going to clean that up a bit, weld that in there, and then we'll lift it up in the air and try to do something on the bottom, maybe try to do something on the inside. Anyway, let's get this in there and we'll take the stands out and see if it held it level and go from there. Fortunately, the only thing back here is if we were getting into a rear end collision, we're getting rid of the trailer, so we don't have the trailer aspect of things that are going to ruin the frame. If we were to get rear ended, yeah, this thing's going to drop in the dirt, go underneath the pickup, all sorts of body damage. But structurally, we're good because the track bar brackets are right here, which is ahead of the debauchery. All our suspension bracketry is way up there ahead of the debauchery. Our springs, all that stress is right there. So, I mean, really you could cut this frame off right here. Well, I guess our shocks, we got our shocks, but let's be honest, with it lowered the angle that these things are running at, these shocks aren't doing a whole lot. Are they, Duff? No. I know, you're keeping an eye on it, make sure we're classing it up. This is probably his favorite pickup. We do a lot of riding in this thing, don't we? She's a good parts runner and running the merch to town. Yeah, get your merch, mortsky.com, he says. So anyway, I cut this off at an angle because the frame kind of runs uphill at an angle in the old iron worker. That thing is super freaking handy. Glad I got that. Nice clean edge. It's nice and cool to the touch. There's no sparks. It's quiet. Nobody loses a finger. Anyway, let's beat that in a little bit more, clean it up a little bit more. Let's burn her in. And then we'll keep going from there. There you have it. I think that's pretty decent for me. I'm a self-taught, self-trained nobody of a welder, but I can stick 2 pieces of metal together. We got verticals and overhead, so pretty much that's the only good weld there. The rest are just, they're there. Probably didn't do them right, but I think it'll hold. But we got to get something on the bottom. I want to get something on the inside. The problem is these stands are too tall. Like, I can't go any lower than this, so I want to get it on the ground so I can get the inside there, but we'll have to go underneath and figure something out. But I think that's a pretty good start, and that's probably all we would need for what we got going on. I mean, it's just holding the back of the box and the bumper. But since we're here, we got everything out, we got it in front of us. do you think, Duff? You ready to come over and inspect? All right. Here's what we got out here. It looks pretty good. I stuck some 2 1/4 plate on the bottom. Had to clean it up because overhead, vertical to rusty stuff. It was not good. And then on the inside, they had already put this boxing plate in here. You could see they put a weld here and it didn't even attach to the top. I shouldn't say anything because mine's not great. But there was a big open gap there, so we put another chunk of that 3-inch in there, tied that to that cross member, tied everything all together there. Good to go. I think our weak spot now is going to be right here, but we're not going to do anything because it's good enough to hold a bed and a bumper, because this cross member is loose and it just snowballs from there. And same thing on the passenger side. It isn't rusted out where that quarter elliptical overload spring bracket was, but look at this. You can see this seam right here where it's boxed. That's all the weld is let loose. It's cracking out here. It's rusted out here and here. So I mean, there's really no stopping. And here's why it all happened. You got this slingshot, this cross member, the outside, it's just a Y. It's like a funnel. Comes in here, goes over the top, sits all in there, and doesn't come out until it finds this rust hole. And when it was new, that wasn't a rust hole. Look at all them rocks in there. So if the hole's big enough, I figure the dirt's gonna fall out. And like I said, this frame is not a long-term resolution. This thing is hot garbage. It's bent, it's rusted, it's cobbled together. We're just gonna run it. We're calling it good. So I might throw a little foo-foo can on it, just, you know, to kind of disguise it or magnify it. Whichever color paint we use, we'll do that. If we put magenta on there, it's gonna be like, kapow, look at me. If we put flat black, maybe it'll be inconspicuous. We'll rub some dust and dirt and grease on it, call it good. Before I welded any other plates on, I just had that outside plate on. I set it down and put the level on it, and it's just this level back here as it was up there. So should be pretty good. Give her the old bumper test. She's more solid than her tailpipe. All right, tech tip of the day, don't put a glass pack on your single exhaust 235. I think we'll set her down and do the foo-foo can thing. Put our shock back on. Look at this. This looks like, I forget what's his name. I love you, Chunk, from the Goonies. Oh, I love you, Chunk. His eye over here and his eye over here and his mouth. Okay. Anyway, we're calling it good. Gotta put our exhaust hanger back on. And yeah, we should be ready to put a bed on. Except it's a snow day and nobody came to work and or left work. So, and it's well after hours, so I don't have any help today. So I don't know how we're gonna get a bed back on. We're gonna have to wait for tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna get this buttoned up and we'll wait for further assistance. Sandwich time. One more thing before we set it down, I figured I'd pop the brake drum off, and of course everything looks like brand new. Like I said, this thing stops great, but the adjuster is stuck, so let's spray a little looby-doob on that so you can't work it back and forth. See that pitting on there? I'm pretty sure that these are actual Reman brake shoes. I remember as a kid, Grandpa chewing me out for not putting them back in the box because there was, you know, heaven forbid, a $5 cord charge. But that was when soda was 50 cents too. So anyway, long story short, I can't see why a new one would be all pitted up. This side isn't. But let's get that working so that they stay working. You can tell that they were working by how shiny it is. So now's the time to do her, eh, Duff? No, we're not gonna do the other side. Okay, maybe we will. All right, she's a little bit high on that far side, and she's almost dead nuts in the middle back here. And that's, I don't know, the way that it is. It's really not even on that pad on the lift. So we should be pretty freaking close because the road ain't level all the time, and is what it is. And there's some adjustment in the bumper, and we can shim cabs and shim beds and whatever. But I think that's gonna do her. If we lubed up the brake, oh yeah, we gotta put the shock on. Gotta put the shock on. Gotta reroute our wiring for our tail lights. And then, yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, we gotta put our exhaust hanger up, but we're getting there. We will get there. And now that, of course, the furnace can make noise, furnace don't want to work. So I guess I'm gonna climb up there and play with the used oil furnace, because that's what you do when you got a used oil furnace. It's like having a toddler running around here, just raising chaos, never getting anything done. Do toddlers keep you warm? They melt your heart, right? Igniter was dirty or something, I don't know. I cleaned it like 3 times and then it worked. So we got heat. If you don't have heat, get yourself a hoodie and a beanie before it gets too hot out. Get yourself a t-shirt, and then you can have that for when it does get hot out. Mortske.com, we got it. All right. Hey, the shock actually works on this thing. And they're the right color. It's got all the rebound. That's a big shock. You boys and girls know how much of a hardware freak I am. This hardware is way too long. And this is a 7/16 nut that's 3/4 hex, so you can't get a wrench on it because it fits in there. But anyway, I'm gonna put some, I know this frame is garbage, but we're putting new hardware in. The correct length, and then the correct size nut. There's no reason to have the wrong size hardware. I mean, there is, but who cares if the frame is all botched up? You gotta have the right hardware. Let's go with 2 1/4. See what these are originally. 2 3/4. They're a 1/2 inch too long. What's a 1/2 inch? There we go. How much better is that when you don't have a 1/2 mile of thread sticking out? Okay, another 1/2 inch. Tomato, tomato. Can anybody tell me why a 7/16 bolt has a 5/8 head and 11/16 nut when a 3/8 bolt has 9/16 head and a 9/16 nut? 5/16 is 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. Why are they different sizes on 7/16? Why? I need to know. I could look it up, but I love reading the comments down below. And believe it or not, I read every single one. I forget what it was last year. It was something silly like 300 or 400,000 comments in 2023. That's a couple. It's an hour or better every day. Monday nights, it's a lot. It's 2.5 hours on Monday nights. So thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment down below with why 7/16 hardware has a different size nut and bolt. I can't wait to see how many there are. Wrong answers only. All right, let's get our exhaust hanger back on. Oh, that's gonna need some new hardware because I snapped it off. Pretty sure this level came over on the Titanic. I don't know where I got it. And it's the only one I got that's got the 2 level fingers in the middle with bubbles. I've never seen one like that. It's pretty neat. The Welding level. Welding Tool Company, Chicago, Illinois. Back when Sings was made in America. Okay, no more accents for today. How about the Unitech? This might be American made. Made in the USA. Unitech, Empire. Where? But where? I'm gonna say Canton, Ohio. Probably not. All right, let's put these away before I break them. This is what the bottom of that frame rail looked like. Swiss cheese, and it wasn't even attached on the one side. All I had to do was cut that side. Flap it in the wind. And I did a little tapping on the frame rail to get the rust out. And look at all that crap that come out of there. She's gonna be Much better now, much better. All right, put a wheel on and it's sandwich 30 for the evening. And it's Monday night, so I'm gonna go read all your comments and reply to them. Some of them, most of them. Okay, not all. Look at that, there's this cute little clip in there. We could take the Pontiac motor division out of the center if we really wanted to and put something else in there. But we won't. It's so small, nobody ever notices. Plus it's got red interior. The bow ties are red, so it kind of goes with it. I did not pay money for these. These were, well, I guess I bought a car for scrap. And these were in the trunk. They're not a bad looking full center hubcap for minimal effort. 1970 Pontiac. Minimal investment. Hubcaps are freaking expensive now. I couldn't go to sleep tonight knowing that there was a chrome spoke just hanging out in my shop, so we got it covered up. So this thing's a manual. It's pretty flat here, but I would like to have a park brake, especially if we're going to take this thing to the Lone Star Roundup. It's gently rolling hills on the fairgrounds there, and I don't want to be that guy with a 4x4 wedged under his tire. Funny thing is, this thing will roll forward, but it won't roll backwards with it in gear. Something to do with this 3-speed deal. So that's how I got away with it originally when I drove it, was with that old transmission, was put it in gear, but now it rolls forward because the freewheeling action of the overdrive. But let's try the park brake and see what happens. I feel like we're going to pull it on and it's not going to release, or it's not going to work, or who knows. Part of the reason I believe that is because there's nothing really holding this cable, and it's hanging out there, and it looked like there were some pieces missing inside there, like the balance bar and stuff. But let's give it a whirl, because it should get fixed one of these days. Here goes nothing. And I think it got looser. So yeah, I don't think the park brake works. So add that to the checklist of things to fix. Great, grand, wonderful.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
Show you what we got going on here. I don't know if it's any better, but the frame's in better shape. This side of the bed is, I don't know, it's less than a 1/2 inch low, because we tried putting, or at 1 inch, we put a 1 inch board in there, and that's too much. But it's maybe a little, it's tighter at the bottom than it is at the top, but better than it was. And the driver's side, same deal. It's, the body line's about where it needs to be, but it's got too much of a gap up front, so we got to shim up the back. It's going to take some adjusting, because as you shim this up, it's going to bring that down, and vice versa. So it's going to be a game of shims. We'll get her though. Also, when you're doing this, I would recommend taking the bumper off. Make assembly and disassembly way easier. Okay, so after a whole bunch of wrestling, I think we got it about as good as it's going to get. We might have to cheat it a little bit fore and aft, side to side, but level is about as good as it's going to get. I did take an actual level. Probably should use a chalk line or something, but that would require 2 people. And it follows the belt line from front to back. So the other thing that could be going on here is between the rotten cab mounts, the twisted frame, the saggy rubber bushings in the cab mounts, the cab might not be sitting level either. So we're just gonna fudge it and make it as good as you get. And by fudging it, we're really digging into the old Canadian speed shop dam. We're putting 1.5 spacers underneath the back of the frame here. So the frame's level left to right, but front to back, she must tip down in there somewhere. Are you surprised, Duff? Yeah, me either. So we're just gonna put some longer bolts in, put some spacers in there, and then it makes I looked at it when I had it on the ground. I've had it up and down, and I spent more time doing leveling this and moving it around than the rest of this project has taken, but it makes the pickup sit really high now. It looks really high, even though it's the same ride height it always was. But we might take the bumper brackets off, and we got all kinds of room up here, and we might move the bumper up just to close that gap a bit. It'll make the pickup look like it's sitting higher, but that gap back there is freaking terrible. It's like putting a body lift on. Ew, another thing we don't like, body lifts. What do you think about body lift stuff? Throw some hockey pucks between the cab and the frame so you can clear some 33s. Nah, just take the Sawzall to the fenders. It's way cooler. All right, I'm gonna get these chunks of tubing installed, find some longer hardware, and we'll be back in a bit. All right, looking pretty good. I don't know if it's the way the beds fit, but I feel like the front needs to come over just a skosh that way, but it will not go without hogging the holes out. It actually looks like the bed is about an inch or two too narrow for the cab, but she lines up with the belt line, and it doesn't have the big taco effect. Our gap is pretty decent right here. So I think that's good. It's way tighter up here than it was before. It's probably almost too tight. That's what she said.
Yeah, that's what she said.
So now let's move that bumper up. Not only will it give us more ground clearance, so it's not dragging, it'll also fill that gap. And then if somebody were to back into us, it might line up with a bumper of a Toyota Corolla. So let's lift her up, take that loose. Hindsight, I should have done that before we took the bed off, but let's do it. See how much of a pain that is. I'm sure it'll be open a can of worms like everything else that we've done in this project so far, but it'll look better. Looks like it's just hanging out there, like wheelie bars or something. I don't know. Like dragging a 4x4 behind your pickup. This will be the perfect opportunity to put a roll pan on.
Not.
So they must have welded their fancy hitch on there with the bumper in place, obviously. I mean, why wouldn't you? And now I can't get a wrench on this bolt, so we're just gonna take the old gas hacks and snip the bolt off and put a new one in and not cut this off. Yeah, good call. Oh, it gets better. You gonna show them, Duff? So the bumper bracket bolts came in from the outside on that side. This side they go in from the inside. And guess what? That metal tab for their so-called hitch is in the way. Luckily this bolt snapped off. Well, I don't know about luckily, but it snapped off anyway. Perfect. Now the bolt can't get out because they got that giant slug of steel in the way. So we're gonna have to cut the head off that bolt too. Always plan ahead on your fabrication, what you're gonna impede upon on future serviceability when putting your hitch on your 62 Chevy Shortbed. Good thing we like running the gas axe, eh, Duff? There's what we got going on. There's our bolt, and there's that slug of steel off that hitch. And as you can see, can't get it out of there. Well, I suppose we could pull the bumper brackets around, but let's move our taillight wiring out of the way and cut that head off. Oh yeah, there's the hideous redneck look. No bumper, no license plate bracket, and just screw it to the sheet metal. This is your sign. If your pickup looks like this, get a roll pan or a bumper or something. Finish it out. So now we got to mock it up.
You know, I didn't come over here to have you mock me,
Yeah.
but I just knew what I was gonna get.
Mock. Yeah. Yeah. And we'll get her kind of figured out where we want it and mark some holes, drill some holes. Should be pretty easy. Like I said, the hardest part is going to be getting her mocked up. I'm only going to raise the bumper up. I kind of want to suck it in a little bit, but I think this one was always pretty tight to the back of the bed. But you don't want them hanging out there, flopping in the wind. High and tight. That's where your bumpers belong. Okay, got it where I want it. Like I said, everything's crooked. The cab's crooked. The box is crooked. The frame is crooked. So of course the bumper's gonna be crooked too. The one thing I don't like is the way this bumper was originally mounted. It's kind of tipped like that. This gap isn't bad. I don't know what's going on. Optical illusion. But maybe that, I bet that bumper's got a twist to it. That's what it is. Because on the driver's side here, it looks like the bumper's kicked way out. So we'll see if we can't manipulate it, and it's probably just an optical illusion. As it's closer to the ground, maybe you won't notice it as much, but it seems like this gap is way bigger than this gap on this side anyway. And the way it was installed, it was hanging way down or at an angle, so that gap wasn't as exquisite. I don't know if it's tweaked or not. I'm sure it is. All right, let's mark some holes, start drilling 1/2-inch holes, and maybe we'll oblong a little bit so we got some adjustment. Go from there. All right, now you gotta stand back and have a sandwich and enjoy the fruits of your labors anytime you do anything like this. But I think this thing looks pretty dang good. Drilled the holes out, used our favorite fabrication tool, the Norseman reamer. Not a paid promotion, but those things are the cat's pajamas. Check them out, get yourself some if you haven't. And yeah, the thing looks pretty good. Nobody's gonna notice except for me and Duff and you folks, but let's take a look. I almost feel like, I think they had a factory, like, I don't know, gravel guard splash apron that goes in there. That would fill that gap a little bit. I suppose we could make some, but got some pretty good gaps there. You don't want it tight against it because everything's got to move, and you don't want it rubbing on it, but I think she'll work. And this side, like I said, is tipped out a little bit, so I think that bumper's, she's got a tweak to it, but that bumper ain't perfect. There's a pretty good hooey right there, but it matches the rest of the rig. I gotta get a license plate light to be legal. Other than that, pretty good back here. Speaking of lights, let's lift this thing up and hook up the tail lights. Those things worked before, so they should work again. And while we're at it, because long term I want to put a different frame underneath this thing, let's put a weather pack connector on that tail light harness so that next time we pull the bed off, all we gotta do is pull a connector or a couple connectors, and then we don't have to cut splices and reheat. And anyway, the wiring in this taillights, they're never good on pickups. Taillight wiring always gets butchered up, especially when they had a trailer hitch on there, because then they usually tapped into that and used some of those god-awful Scotch clips or insulated butt connectors or what. But taillight harnesses on pickups is always trash. But let's try to make it a little bit better so that we can disconnect it when we got to pull that bed off the next time, or if we take it off to put the bed wood in it, or take it off to do body work on it, or whatever. Or we never take it off again. But it makes for great content. Wiring, everybody loves wiring, right? We haven't done wiring for a while. We did a bunch of it on my dad's LS swapped Buick. I don't know. I'm sure we've done a little bit since then, but anyway, let's get the fancy weather pack connectors out. You know what the beauty of filming all this stuff is, other than all you guys' wonderful comments? Just kidding, some of them are not so wonderful. He's finding out that the camera froze. He didn't record any of it. The good news is it's all terrible stuff that you didn't miss out on. So let's give a quick recap. Where it left off, we were putting a GM weather pack under here for the taillights. I only have a 3-pin. We got 4 wires coming back here, but this one would be for backup lights, but this pickup doesn't have backup lights, so we don't need it. And it's also not hooked up front, and there's also no reverse light stuff on the transmission or the shifter. So anyway, yellow is left, green is right, brown is tail, just like they should be. If you've never seen a weather pack go together, go check out my 66 Buick Skylark video. Use a bunch of them on there, or there's other videos, but these things are good. We can just unclip this. I said unclip. There we go. Take the bed off, hook her back up. Oh, speaking of hookers, make sure you got a good ground. These tail lights only got 2 wires, so they got basically a high beam and a low beam. So brakes and tails, and they ground through the taillight bucket, which grounds through the body, which has to ground to the frame. So you don't want to be grounding through them bolts and everything vibrating, so make sure you hook up a ground strap. We got a nice clean contact continuity right there. Still got to do something for a tail light, or excuse me, license plate light to be legal, but I'm not too worried about it. We don't do anything illegal, so bring on the police. We did check, everything works. Speaking of that, the headlights are terribly aimed, so we got to adjust those. And the speedometer cable. So the speedometer cable was making a terrible noise in this thing a couple months ago. The Mopar Madman and I were wheeling around in this thing and it just rawr, rawr, rawr. So good thing is finger tight, so I reached under the dash, unhooked it. Been driving it for a couple months like that. Oh, 2 weeks in a row laying underneath dashes. Yay! Yay! Oh. Get the old Cyclops out so we can see what we're doing. Where is the speedo cable? There it is. Got it. So, why is there a bunch of paper wrapped around it? Was it leaking out at some point? That is strange. Anyway, we're gonna spray a bunch of Croil down it, and hopefully that gets rid of our noisy speedo and cable. Comment down below with what you're supposed to lube up your speedometers with. Oh yeah, can't you slide this out? No? I thought some of them you could slide the center out, clean it up, put it back together and lube it. There we go. There we go. Greasy, grimy gopher guts. So I'm gonna go clean this off, and then we'll spray some looby-doob in there. Put it back together again. I can honestly say I've never had a speedo cable apart and put it back together again, but looks like there's like a little collar up there that holds it in there. So it can only come out the top side, or this particular speedo cable, and then it's a round like spring type material, and that's where I think you get the bouncing of your needle, is this springing back and forth. That's what your needle does when your cable is all dry. This thing was just screeching away. And then at the very, it's all round, it's that spring material, and then at the end it's crimped like a square, and that's what drives your speedo and the drive on your transmission. That's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat.
Okay, enough speedo yak. Time for some Croil. So don't buy a new speedo cable. Lubricate yours. I wonder what the service interval is. Now this cab is now gonna smell like Croil. Better than mice, I guess. Or maybe it's never gonna go back together again. There we go. Now we're making headway. Yeah, I can spin it, oh, just about a full turn, and it's engaged into the transmission, so that's where you get your bouncing back and forth. The collar's bottomed out, so she's all the way in. Now the fun part, trying to hook it back up. Oh, we're getting in there nice and deep like now.
That's it, boy. Get in there nice and deep like.
I figured out what the tape is for. It's to hold that nut up there. I can get the cable fed up there, but then the nut slides down, and I can't get that nut fished up there to save my soul. So electrical tape is now speedometer nut tape.
One eternity later.
All right, she's in there, she's hooked up. I don't like tightening these things up too tight, because if they start making noise and you're going down the road and you don't have any tools, you can spin it off with your hand. Life experiences right there. According to this thing, it says 23 minutes. So yeah, 20 minutes to get that thing unhooked and hooked back up. Not fun. All right. Hopefully it doesn't squeal or squeak or needle bounces or nothing. Good for many years to come. Unlike my back. Just give me a minute. And now I gotta hook up all the light indicators and such that I knocked loose when I was underneath here. Now would be a good time to replace any bulbs that were burned out. Yeah, so now let's set her down and see if we can aim some headlights so that the headlights aren't as crooked as the rest of this wonderful pickup. There you go, tail lights working just the way we like them. Check out these headlights working. I didn't think the lights were that bad on this thing, but apparently they are. Everything looks good there. Over here, this one looks like she's pointing to the right a bit, and that one's to the right and down, which I guess you probably want them to the right as opposed to pointing into oncoming traffic. For their sake, not yours. Well, you don't want to blind them so they run into you. But it looks like we got to turn this one left and maybe up a hair, and this one's got to go left and up a long ways. I don't know. There's a lot of ways to do it. I'm sure there's a measurement for height and distance, you know, usually pull up against the garage door. And I usually shoot for about waist high at about 3 paces, so 10, 15 feet, something like that. And we're about 15 feet. So let's adjust the headlight. Hopefully all the adjustment hardware is there and in good shape. Otherwise, I guess we're gonna have to improvise or just leave it. And from what I remember, the hardware in the front end of this thing is not factory at all. I'll show you this. These inner fenders on these pickups always rust out right there, and the fenders always rust out there and down in there, so no doubt this thing's been repaired or got a bunch of mud in it. But look at this inner fender. This thing's been whacked pretty hard up front. Somebody fixed all that. Core support's the same way. She's got some wrinkles on the backside. I don't think you can see them from up here, but anyway, that's definitely not factory hardware, but we're gonna have to take that out, and then hopefully the springs and everything are there. So let's get this off of there. Oh yeah, that grill is definitely missing some hardware. So maybe we'll take a look at that. But look at that. That's an original T3. That's what they come with from the factory. The other side does not have the T3. So that's probably a 60-year-old headlight. All right, let's rip into it. And in case you were wondering, this is a 63 grill, the best of all the grills. 62 grills, like this pickup should have had, are the most hideous grills of all the years. 60 to 62 grills leave a lot to be desired, but 62s are terrible. It's like they just took the 60-61 Ford headlight design and like, how are we gonna put 2 headlights in there instead of, or one headlight instead of two. And they're like, just fill in the space. There's some terrible headlights around. Sorry to those of you that I've offended that have 62 grills, but 63 1 year only, awesome. They're all 1 year only. 60 to 63 are 1 year only, but 64 to 66 I'm pretty sure are the same grill. They may be painted in a different color. Speaking of how tweaked this is, that front bumper has a nice tweak to it. This whole pickup's just a presentable pile. That's what we'll call it. But she is as loyal as the day is long. All right, let's pull some screws out. Let's do some screwing around. I don't know where the Duff went. He's screwing around somewhere. I feel like these screws should be Phillips Duff. A lot of these you can adjust without taking the screws out, but apparently not this one. There's no spot to get my screwdriver in. Oh my word. Yeah, that screw's got plenty of threads. For cheese and rice. That's a lot of machine screw. So now, there should be a screw here and one here. So if we screw this in, it should adjust it up. Hey. A lot of times there's like a plastic clip on the later model ones, and that plastic clip will go bad so nothing's holding it, or the spring will be missing, and then they won't adjust. But these ones look like they're complete and functional. That's always a plus. Obviously you want your vehicle set at ride height, on the ground, loaded, air in the tires, all that good stuff, right Duff? Yeah. Looks like she's still a little low yet. Screw her in, Duff. Is it getting better, or is that stripped out? Or bottomed out? And she's bottomed out. How can that be? Is that just the angle the pickup's sitting in? All right, and then we thread this one out. And that should spin the headlight to the left. All right, way better than it was. Still like it to go up a little bit, but we're bottomed out in there. I don't know if that's the way the pickup's sitting. I suppose it's because the pickup's lowered. So don't lower your vehicle because your headlights won't shine in the right spot. Just don't drive them at night. Perfect. There you can see the left side's just to the left of that door hinge, and this side's pretty much right on the door hinge, maybe a little bit below it, but I can't get her to go up any higher because it's bottomed out. That screw is bottomed out, so without doing some modifications, that's what we're gonna get. It's pretty good. Like I said, they weren't bad at night. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't like driving a 2024 Corvette or anything, but you definitely weren't Ray Charles in it going down the road at night. It's pretty safe, don't you think? Yeah. All right, should we put it back together, or should we go look for some hardware, some machine screws that are Phillips? I think we should. These flat screws are just hideous. It'd be really nice if we could find some stainless ones. I don't have much for a machine screw selection, so we'll see what we got. But these clip-in nuts are pretty resilient. You can put I don't know what you call them, a different style screw in there. I call them like wood screws. Not a wood screw though, you know what I mean. That different thread. I'll see what I can find. Look at these guys. Weco? Anyway, I bought some vintage body shop stuff from my deceased neighbor's estate, and this stuff was in there. So let's see if these thread in there. I feel like these are what it's supposed to have. These screws are a machine screw, and these ones are oval head tapping screws, plated, so they shouldn't get rusty. Let's try threading it in. See? Perfect. Right length. This YouTube stuff is making me realize how much of a hardware nerd I am. The only hardware nerd 100-point restoration guy that has $100 cars. $200 worth of hardware on them. Going with the next size up. There we go. They do kind of stand out being silver. If anybody's got a factory plated 63 grill they want to part with, hit me up. This one would look real good on the wall. factory plated one in here instead of painted. Okay, I lied. These don't want to snug up. Dang it, back to the crappy machine screws. It's not because they're too short, are they? Nope, that don't snug up either. Weird. Because I feel like that diameter is bigger. Should catch. And there you have it, the world's worst tutorial on aiming your headlights on a 60 to 66 Chevy pickup. All right, next on the list is the doors on this thing. This passenger door is the worst out of the two. I mean, I don't know if it's the people that ride with me or what, but the hinges are sticky. Like, it just kind of stops where you stop at. You can hear the crunchiness, which is the gap. No, we're not going for a ride, you goof. The gap between the rocker and the bottom of the door gets dirt in there, and it's so tight down there because they put the rocker on too high, in my opinion. What do I know though, Duff, huh? The body line could come up a little bit, and she could come up a little bit here. So we're gonna adjust the hinges and we're gonna lubricate them. And believe me, it's not so easy as putting the coil on them and lubing them up, because I tried that. So we gotta take the pins out, clean them up, and heat them. And I should have done that when I repainted that fender and had that fender off, but I didn't. So we're gonna have to take the door off for that. So for my next trick, I'm gonna take these 6 3/8 bolts, this, check strap. I think it's just a screw. Hopefully it's just a screw. Looks like it's a screw. Also, kind of feels like it's not hooked to anything. We're gonna take it off, and then we're gonna hopefully have better access, because the door wraps right up against it. I don't even know if you can take the pins out, because I think it would hit the top of the door there. You 60 to 63 guys know what I'm talking about. So we're gonna fix that, and then also you really gotta whale it shut. But I think that has a lot to do with the stickiness. See, it didn't even go. Got it. And I'm not a fan of slamming doors, but that's what you got to do on this one. I wonder if that check strap is even hooked up, because she's came too far open. This door, it's a sad, sad door. But whatever. The whole pickup's pretty sad. You gonna hold the door while I take the bolts out, or you want me to hold the door or you take the bolts out? You gotta start pulling your weight around here, you know. Or you can go sit on the seat on the driver's side. I work on the passenger side. I don't really feel like trying to hold this door by myself, so for my next trick, I'm gonna get my lovely assistant, Vanna, to hold the door while I remove the bolts. Cue Vanna White! Vanna hands. You're so strong!
Why do I feel like we've been here before?
It's kind of sitting on the rock. Ooh, don't scratch the paint! Don't scratch the rust off there. Probably should have planned ahead where I'm going to have you set it when you take it off. Got it?
Oh, it's much lighter than I expected.
Oh no!
I have to buff that out now. I'm gonna have to give up the pocket protector for sure.
You and your stupid pocket protector. You know, we're going to work in an high-end automotive shop. Look at this.
That ain't gonna fly.
Just. Hey, you're using your dog bed. Good work. And this is why Vanna should be in the nude. Pocket protectors. Oh, this is why we can't have nice things. Anyway, look at this door. It's like just hammered dog crap down here. I don't know what somebody was doing, but beating the crap out of it. And there's a few pinholes there. And where was the mud at? I mean, the whole thing, but it's just pretty thick right there. And then that's all surface rust here. Because it's actually rubbing on the door jamb. So I don't know if the back of the cab isn't in place because the floors and rockers are that rusty, but... And then she's rusty on the inside. It's just a crappy door. Crappy door with some pocket protector scratches.
For shame.
For shame. It's just hard to find good help around here.
Get back to your corner.
Duff says, show them the hinge pockets. So this is why we got to take it off. The hinge is right here, so it would have hit this lip. Yes, I know. And the check strap is functional. Mojo's doing Cadillac things, but I don't think that pin is factory. I know it's not. I feel like it's supposed to be like a roll pin. Anyway, and then this side, the spring sits in that pocket, the door hinge, so that the pin can't come out, it'll hit right there. So that's why we had to take it off. Mainly I just wanted to take it off so that Chin could put another scratch in it. Oh, never gonna live that one down.
Probably because I'm doing that freaking door all the time now. I'll see it.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you ride in this thing so much. So much. You think we should drive around with no door, Duff? Yeah, then you'd jump out every time you saw a cat or a rooster for sure. So, I wonder if I can even move these, but oh yeah, I can. Oh, they're sticky. So, instead of putting heat to them and potentially melting more paint off, let's, oh, that one's been shimmed out. Nice. And you can see it's been rubbing really hard there and back there. So everything's out of alignment. This rocker they put on is terrible, just like everything else. I don't even think they could get a door seal in, so they just cut it off. Didn't even run it down there, huh, Duff? Pretty pathetic excuse for a restoration, but she's a good beater. Was this pickup black at one time? Who knows? So, let's pound some pins out, clean them up, hopefully put it back together. I guess I'd rather have worn pins than sticky ones. So door hinge theory, this pin is serrated or whatever you call it, so it stays stationary in this part of the hinge, and then this rotates around the pin. So we got to clean up this area. You can see she's pretty rusty. Now would be a good time to put new hinge pins in, but we don't have any. And it looks like there's supposed to be this plastic here. Didn't know they had plastic. Well, cripes, good thing we didn't put heat in there because the heat would have melted that plastic out. So I think we're just going to clean this part up and make it so it turns freely on that. And this one, I can't even get the hinge pin to come out. So we might have to remove it, which I don't want to do because if we screw up the threads in the body, we are in trouble. This one at least we can get at. This one you can't remove without pulling the fender. So let's go over to the wire wheel, clean this up a bit. See how that rotates in here, and we'll get some lube in there. See what happens. If you haven't shot a piece of hardware across your shop floor with a bench grinder, you haven't lived. Good news is that one didn't quite get me in the groin, but it's close. What? You can't run the bench grinder. You got no thumbs. Got a little croil on there. Now it's almost sloppy. Sloppy Joe. I made him extra sloppy just for you.
I know how you kids like them sloppy.
Lady, you're scaring us.
I think we can put this one back together and focus on the other one. So I'm guessing that's plastic. Somebody's been in here and rebuilt these, but as pitted as that pin was, I feel like that was OEM. Maybe I should brake clean the rust out of there. Clean my hammer, my air hammer, and my door pin hinge all in the same shot. Whoops! Oh, that was already there. Yeah, now she's loose. That's how much rust was in there. All right, now we got to figure out what we're gonna do with the bottom one. Looks like it did budge a little. Let's go put her in the vise and see. You can see all I was doing is mushrooming the end of the pin out, so that's not good for business. Yeah, I can't even move it by hand now. She's definitely stuck. That pin is in sad shape. There must have been a bunch of rust in there. That's about all the nylon bushing that come out. So, I feel like this door was really tight when we took it apart. We're gonna put it back together and she's gonna be real loose. So we're gonna be looking for probably some door hinges. And some parts, but at least it'll swing nice. All right, I'm gonna go clean this up. For why, I don't know, but I am. Duff, what are we doing? This door hinge, it's wasted. She's all floppied out. Speaking of what's not floppied out, that Grand Prix 63, somebody needs to own that thing. Price and availability on mortske.com. It's cold out, it's windy, let's get out of here. Speaking of being cold, go check out mortske.com for your beanie cap. And guess what we got? A door hinge. I guess 60 to 66 are all the same according to the internet. This thing should be easy to get off because the fender's already wasted. I think this is a 64. It's a 64 to 66. There's a video on it. Go check it out. This thing runs and drives pretty good. This is the one I will be stealing the frame out of if we do a frame swap. But right now, we're going to steal a door hinge. And I even brought the old one. We'll put it back on. So let's get after it. Ah, cheese and rice. Should have brought the half-inch impact. Why is it gotta be so windy? Oh my. Guessing we gotta use the ratchet wrench on the inside ones. But I did check. This door opens and closes. Pretty nice. It did when it had two door hinges hooked up anyway. Not gonna lie, it's a lot warmer behind this door and out of the wind. Okay. How are we gonna, oh, there we go. There, I can move it by hand. It's tight enough so it don't flop around. It's still got some of the nylon in there. That is a nice door hinge. Now let's be good Samaritans to the junkyard of Mortske and put the old parts back on. Instead of just leaving the door flop in the wind. I'm not saying we're gonna get all the bolts tight, but we're gonna attempt to. Now, if we shut the door and it latches, should be able to put those bolts in, it'll be adjusted right. Or not. Oh man, it's got a threaded plate in there. It's not sitting where it needs to be. Should have brought our magnetic screwdriver. I tell you what, if our door on White Lightning closes half as good as this one when we're done, I'll be happy. Look at that. Good to go. All right, let's get back inside in the warmth of the shop. You just gonna lay in there and watch me work? All right, you're a good supervisor. Oh, now you're gonna come help? feel like you're just gonna get in the way. Should we go see if we can get Vanna White to take her pocket protector out and help us set a door in place? All right, Vanna. I'd like to buy a vowel. This is all the grunting and groaning. I wash my feet everywhere I go. Yep. Because call dang it! Easy on the paint. Well, Duff, we've made it worse. The door doesn't shut. It's like overlapping back here and a huge gap up here. So I don't know if loosening that hinge, and obviously we got a new hinge down there. I put all the same shims in there, which we know that other hinge was shot. But we're gonna take this cover off and start messing around with it. This is why the gaps are so terrible in this pickup, because somebody had even less patience than me. All right, let's get her doctored up. Dr. Pup. All right, now we can get at this top hinge. So let's play around with that a bit, I guess. And there is some adjustment to this cowl cover, whatever you call it here. We gotta go ahead. Okay. We're getting somewhere. Maybe. That's the problem with this. When you adjust this one up, it moves that one down, and when you move this in, it moves that one out. So it's just a game of cat and mouse, per se. I really don't love this antenna. It's at least chrome. Kind of got the original look, but the radio doesn't work. Someday we're gonna have a radio. It's too tall. That's what I don't like about it, how tall it is. But our gaps are a lot better, and they're pretty consistent. The thing about these gaps is if it fits from here all the way up and around to here, that's good, because that should all be factory GM stuff. Of course, you get down here and it sticks out too far, and it's like over the top of the rocker, which I already knew that rocker was up too high. Had to do a little finessing with the Wonder Bar and the flap disc to get that to fit as good as it does. And it sticks out a bit back here, but that whole bottom of that door does. And maybe if I took that shim out, but we took that thing on and off, I don't know how many times, or took them loose. And she shuts pretty good. So I think we're gonna leave it. It's not sticky anymore. Heck, go check her out, Duff. That was the problem. Duff couldn't get it open and closed. So now let's go take a look at the driver's door. That one, after doing this, I don't know if I want to rip into this one, because I'm sure this one's going to be even worse. Somebody's dog likes to jump out the window and scratch the paint. Guess it matches the other side now. This one, yeah, it's rubbing right here, or right there, or right there. It's hitting something. Oh, it's definitely right there. And so that's picking the whole door up. And the whole door needs to go up. Oh my God, that gap is terrible. Oh. And then it sits way in. Yeah, this pickup is bad. And it's super low up here. It's low here. Needs to come out here. And then look at this gap. It just... There's so much mud in the fender and the door. So I guess what we're gonna try to do here is just get the door to come up a little bit, because we know we got room up here and here. The problem is if we tip it ahead, this gap's already pretty tight. We can obviously come up here. So everything needs to come up, because it's really hard to lift the door, or to pull the door open, because it's sticking. And the hinges are pretty loose on this side. Like, let's be honest, this is the greatest pickup I own, Duff. Enough of the negativity. Let's positivity this thing. But yeah, you can see how it's really rubbing on that. There's no adjustment there. I don't think there's any adjustment to that thing. So, how do we make the door come up? Let's do some messing around. What a disaster. I do really like how that other door opens and closes, so this is the one I'm always opening and closing. Let's get this one doctored up too. Such a good puppers. Oh, you love White Lightning, don't you? It's a good pickup. It is a good pickup. She's a good driver. All right, I'm gonna take some stuff loose and see what we can figure out. I'm probably not gonna record it because you can't see what I'm doing in there, and you got to see as much as you're gonna see on the other side already. You show them all the hard work you did on that driver's side, laying on the bench seat. So all I did was take this guy off and loosen the hardware, slide the door ahead. And look at this. It ain't perfect, but there. Now it's just in the latch. And I think it's because the seals are shot, so the seals should push the door out. But yeah, it's a lot better than it was. It could maybe come up a hair, but we're not gonna get into it because it opens and closes better now. We're not riding on that guide down there. Don't have to slam her too hard. These doors never shut that great. They're no 67 to 72 Ford F100, right? Those shut the best. So it's Good Friday. So happy Easter to everybody. If you celebrate Easter, if you don't, hope you had a good Sunday. But anyway, Duff needs some dog chow, so we're gonna run over to Rutland to my buddy Jake's Feed and Seed and pick up some dog food. And we'll take you guys for a ride in White Lightning because we've never went for a ride. And yeah, we'll probably just talk about White Lightning and buying vehicles, whether you're buying a complete basket case or you're buying a six-figure super nice car. We'll kind of go through the things to look for and things to plan ahead for, everything else. If you don't want to hear me talk about maybe some car buying tips, then feel free to go. Thank you very much for watching. Check out our other videos. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Go check out mortsky.com for some real good Mortske merch. We got our greasy ball cap competition coming up Cinco de Drinko, May 5th. So we got dew caps and low caps on hand. Get yours. We got to come up with some prizes. I think we're going to give away some swag, and we're going to give away some cash too. I'm thinking we're going to do 500 for first, 250 for second, and 100 for third place. So if you want to get in on some swag and maybe $500, get yourself a ball cap, start wearing it. Mine's probably not the greasiest one out there, but yeah. And then we'll do a little Facebook Mortske Repair fan club page. We'll have some submissions entered there, and we'll pick somebody out, and somebody will win some great stuff, or a few people will. Anyway, we're gonna jump in this thing and go for a little cruise. So if you don't want to hear me ramble on, you can take off, you hosers. And if you want to stick around, Duff would much appreciate that, wouldn't he? He likes it you guys watch. Who's a happy dog? Who's a happy, happy dog? Who's a happy, happy dog?
Oh, just a happy, happy, happy guy.
Because you know we're going for an RIDE. Yeah. All right, I'll get the camera set up. You just sit here and look pretty. Sit here and look dirty. It's a good thing you don't have a ball cap. You'd win for sure. Right? Of course we want to go for a ride. Hopefully the wind noise ain't too bad because she's a bit breezy out there. Yeah, we gotta figure out what's going on there. It's just the way it's always been. It's had a lot of play in that latch. I'm guessing I need a new latch in the door. Guess we'll have to see if they are the same from 64 to 66 as 60 to 63. All right. Come on, 235. Manual choke. This thing always fires up, no matter how cold it is. Hopefully we resolved our winding speedometer cable. I wonder if I pulled the... Oh yeah, we need petrol. The speedo needle's already dancing up and down. I feel like we're due for a speedo cable. You want to smell me? Because I smell like gasoline. Just doused myself. So, what's that rattle? Who knows? Not only did I get gas on me, never mind that giant snowball ice chunk underneath the pickup. I got gas on the side of the pickup, and these pickups are kind of notorious for kicking back gas on the side of them. I don't know why, just because of the way the design is. They don't really have a fuel neck. Let me adjust this camera a bit for you. And so that's, I guess, how we'll get started on this conversation about buying cars, you know? That's the kind of cars I like, is the kind I could throw my dog in, because he's muddy. He sheds all over. He loves going for rides, and I love having him with me, so that's what I like, and I like stuff I can use. So, I mean, with a car, you can go get the mail and whatever, but with a pickup, you can go hunting, you can cruise down gravel roads. I guess get in a car, but that's where I find a lot of my cars, is cruising gravel roads, especially this time of year, where they kick in the overdrive. Oh, there we go. Oh, the speedo is actually just kind of barely wiggling and not making any noise, so we got that going for us. The wind noise is super terrible here, but like I said, that door pops out a little bit. So we're gonna have to deal with that. Maybe when we start heading south, that'll clear up a bit. But so anyway, what I'm getting at is you need to know what you want in a vehicle. Do you want a 6-figure Hemi Cuda 4-speed car that has a $50,000 paint job and you're never gonna drive it because you're gonna not be able to haul your dog in it? You're gonna worry about the weather, you're gonna worry about kids riding by on bikes. Or do you want something you can use like this? Don't get me wrong, something like this, it's presentable. I put this thing in like local small town shows, and there's stuff that's in between. You know, you like a fine line, something that maybe you can haul stuff in it, but you want to put a rug down before you do it. You don't want to drive on gravel, stuff like that. So that's kind of the biggest thing, is you gotta know what you want. And along with knowing what you want, you gotta know how much you got to spend. So I paid $2,500 for this pickup, running driving, I believe, in about 2014, so 10 years ago. So we all know everything's gone up. So even if we say I paid, you know, $35 or $4 grand for this pickup, I think that's a pretty dang good deal for something that runs and drives. And then over the last 10 years, it has nickel and dimed me. I've done, I mean, and it still needs a lot of stuff. And stuff is worn out over the years. I put tires on it a couple times. It needs exhaust, did timing gears, excuse me, radiator hoses, tune-up, stuff like that. So, I mean, you got to know what your budget is. And if you got a $2,500 budget and you want that Hemi Cuda 4-speed car, good luck. There's still deals out there. I think I stole this thing at $2,500 at the time. Even if say, like, let's say I paid $4 grand for it. I think that was a steal for this pickup. And I did put the hubcaps on it. I lowered it. I put a different seat in it. I put this 5960 Impala steering wheel in it. I've done a bunch of stuff. And then I repainted the hood, bought a different fender, repainted that. Put the springs in the rear to lower it, crank the torsion bars down the front. So I stuck a few bucks in. So let's say I'm into this thing for $5,500. I feel like all day long this is a $8,000 to $12,000 pickup. All day long. Take it or leave it. So what I was getting at is you gotta know what your budget is. And if you got a $5,000 budget, don't waste your time looking at $25,000 cars, because you're just dreaming. And don't get me wrong, you can look at all the cars you want, educate yourself, and know what's out there for what $25,000 gets you, even if you don't have $25,000. So that way, if you see a car come up for $15,000 and it's a $25,000 car to you, you know, that's kind of what got me where I'm at, is buying these cars and knowing that they're below market value and picking them up, doing my thing with them, having my fun with them, selling them, making money. That's, what do they, capitalism, you know? I've got, what do you call it, mental capacity? Yeah, I'm mental, I know. But I have knowledge, and knowledge is power, and that's what has made me money on these cars over the years, and plus I've got a shop to do it, I got a pickup and trailer to haul them with, I've got a welder, a torch, all that good stuff. So, if you want that six-figure Hemi Cuda and you don't have $100,000 laying around, don't ever borrow money to buy an old car. Don't do it. It's not, they are an investment if it's a run and driving car, but if you're fixing a car up, if you were to drag this pickup out of the trees and you want to get it into, like, this pickup in nice shape, I would say is worth, I mean, a really, like a showroom pickup like this with a, you know, a V8 and an automatic or overdrive and AC and nice wheels and disc brakes and all that, I would say they're $30,000 to $50,000 for a nice pickup. I mean, $30,000 doesn't get you much. Like, you'll probably be like, oh, I know this Ted, my buddy, he's got one he only wants 18 for. Go look at it. It's probably got a lot of similarities to this thing, and this thing is, it's rough. I'm an optimist, or a pessimist. I'm a pessimist. I can pick anything apart. If you guys will notice, that's why I hate Kreger's, I hate Bondo, I hate side pipes, Flexios. I'm a pessimist. So yeah, if you want that six-figure car, oh, that's where I was going with that. Don't borrow money for these old cars. They are a pretty good investment if you buy a run and driving car. If you get a car and you know the value, and if you do have to borrow money for it, I would say you're better off borrowing money for an old car than you are for a camper, a side-by-side, a late model vehicle, which everybody's got to have reliable transportation, but let's be honest, everybody got to and from work in 1962 in one of these things. Sorry about the wind noise, it's not any better going south. My wing window handle apparently went MIA. But old cars in general, if you take care of them, and especially if you buy one that needs a little bit of work and you can do said work, you can make a few bucks. If you put some sweat equity into it, and especially if you have if you're an auto body guy, man, if you can paint or do rust repair, those are the guys that I feel like can make money, because that's where a huge amount of your cost is. Like, that's the difference between this $10,000 pickup and that $25,000 pickup is the body and paint on this thing. And materials are the cheap part. I know paint's expensive, but like, let's be honest, I think Dan talks about in the DSP shop, the labor is the absolute killer, and you can't find, I had that bedside wiped out. I think I went through like 6 shops before I found a shop that would touch this thing, and part of that is because this thing has got a lot of filler in it, and nobody wanted to touch it because they're like, well, if we do this side and it's not good enough, it's just got to be good enough for the rest of the pickup. And anyway, it's hard to find guys that want to work on old stuff, and if you want a really nice paint job on old stuff, all these guys are busy. If you have a dedicated shop that just does hot rods, they're probably going to be a year to 3 or 4 years out. They're probably going to be charging $75 to $100 an hour. And no lie, there is probably 2,000 hours in making a car, 6-figure paint job, depending on what you start with, of course. But yeah, good paint jobs, you ain't gonna find anybody to do it for 10 grand. No, they don't exist. If your buddy Steve does it in his backyard on the weekends and nights and evenings, maybe. but I highly question that his paint job's going to come out that nice. And he's probably working for free if he's doing it for that kind of money, because materials, supplies, all that stuff is crazy. So know the market, know what you can spend, try not to borrow money. Sweat equity is where it's at. Like, there's so many projects out there. That's the other thing, is there's guys out there, I see them all the time, where there's these guys like, hey, I got 15 grand due to it, I want, if I get 6 grand, I'll sell it. Which projects are, man, they're all over the place, because when they're missing interiors and you got to find all that stuff, like, yeah, you can open a catalog and buy everything new for a 69 Camaro, but if you got a 64 Thunderbird and it's missing the interior, you are going to pay up for that, and you probably can't get factory seat covers and all that and do it yourself. You're going to have to take it somewhere and get custom upholstery, and upholstery guys are even harder to find than body shops, because I know of, I mean, pretty much every town around here that has a stop sign has a body shop, but about every 10th town has somebody who does upholstery, and unfortunately those people who do upholstery are getting up in age. A lot of the body guys are too, but upholstery people are hard to find, and they're dying left and right. Right, they're not dying left and right, but it's nobody's going to school for trades anymore anyway, but nobody's going to school for upholstery trades. So with projects, yeah, you find out, you're like, oh, I got a steal on this car. I paid 6 grand and this guy's got 15 into it. Yeah, but you might be the guy who's got the next 15 into it and selling it to the next guy for 6 grand because you're in over your head. So know what your capabilities are, and it's if everything is there, it's a cakewalk, especially if you're familiar with these cars, or that whatever car it is. Say it's a 59 Chevy Impala. If you know 59 Impalas inside and out, to put one of these 59 Impala together in a million pieces and you know them is easy. Like these pickups, I can put one of these together. The 67 to 72 Chevy pickup I can put together in my sleep. You gave me all the parts for 67 to 72 Chevy pickup on pallets, I can put that thing together in a week. Easy. So do your research. If you think you want a 69 Camaro, find somebody who's got a 69 Camaro, who's fixing one up, or who's had a bunch of them. Or, find the subject matter expert and talk to them and say, hey, what do I look for? Do you know of any deals? What's a good price? What do I look for? Do they rust around the rear windows? Is it the quarter panels? Do they rust the dog legs and the fenders? Look at those bad spots, especially if you're looking at a pickup like this that's been fixed up, because paint hides a lot. I mean, if you could buy a car in bare steel and then you know what you're getting, that's great. My favorite, and the markets show this, is original paint cars, because you're not hiding anything. It doesn't matter if it's nice original paint or if it's like my wagon, it's been outside for 40 years original paint, or that if it's body work and it's 40-year-old body work, either it's good body work or it's been well stored or it's going to show. So original paint, like, you cannot beat an original paint, and that's why people are paying big bucks for nice original paint or just any original paint cars, because you know what you're getting. And they're kind of, I wouldn't say a fad, but they're the in thing right now. It's rough around the edges, something you can drive and enjoy. And like I said, you know what you're getting. It's all the sins are exposed, all the dings, the dents, the rust, the scratches. It's all out there for the world to see. And original paint is better. I mean, 9 times out of 10, any body work that's been done it's going to show up after years. Like, it's got, fish eyes, it's got runs, they don't paint the jams, or it's flaking off in the jams because they didn't prep it. That's one of the biggest problems with this pickup, is they didn't prep the jams. So like, you open the door and you can flake off paint. I guarantee we go to the back of the shop and there's just paint flakes all over the door. So that's one thing to look at when you're looking at a car, is look at the jams. You know, does it have new door seals in it? Has somebody been in there? Lift, peel back, to be respectable. You know, don't take a frickin' magnet and drag all over somebody's car and be like, oh, there's a bunch of filler here, and scuff up their paint. And be polite to the people, you know, and you know, and negotiate, and, you know, say, hey, here's what I found, you know, I feel like here's the good parts about that car and here's the bad parts about that car, but, you know, that gives you some negotiating. So get good at negotiating if you're gonna buy a car. But you check the door jams, check the jams underneath the hood. Has it been painted under the hood? Is it a different color underneath the hood? When they painted the hood, did they paint the top side and the bottom side? You know, that's the difference between, you know, a nice one of these at 30,000 and a really nice one at 50,000 is like, how nice is the stainless? Does it have all the correct screws in the grill? Did they paint the jams? Did they paint underneath the hood? Is it painted underneath the hood the right color? Because I feel like these things are supposed to be black underneath the hood. I don't know. I'd have to look at Rex, my original paint 66, but and know that stuff. Know, you know, what's an original? What did they do? Was there markings on the firewall? Which doesn't really matter on a pickup like this. But like, yeah, if you're looking at that 69 Camaro or that Hemi Cuda, like, numbers matching is huge in the muscle car stuff. And there again, like if it's got all that stuff, that's great. But really, the numbers matching only matters if, to be honest, if you're gonna resell it. To me, if you're gonna drive it, I'd rather have LS, fuel injection, overdrive, you know, radial tires, posi, you know, if the car didn't come with it, stuff like that. That's the other thing is, look at the options, you know. If the car's got an LS, if it's got an overdrive, if it's got dual exhaust, if it's got a posi, if it's got disc brakes, if it's got, you know, 20-inch wheels. So that stuff costs money. Like, exhaust, $1,000 to go anywhere around here. And somebody's gonna argue like, oh, my exhaust guy will do it for $400. Yeah, well, Tim's exhaust is probably pretty crappy that you're gonna have due for that. Wheels and tires is big bucks. And if a car's got the wrong wheels and tires, and you got to put the right wheels and tires on it to either make it yours or because it's all screwed up and they're terrible fitment, like, it costs you. I just bought a set of 5 spokes Americans, brand new out the door. They're usually like $160 a piece, so $640 for torque thrusts. Then you got to buy lug nuts, and then tires are roughly the same, usually a little bit less. So, I mean, it ain't nothing to have $1,200 into wheels and tires on a car. Exhaust $1,000. You know, windshield, depending on the car, you can have $500 in a windshield by the time you pay somebody to put it in there. So, you know, look at all that stuff. And then if it's got a, you know, if it's a factory pickup like this and it's been converted to an overdrive, like a $700 Ford 4L60E, like, man, to go through a tranny, the one I did was like $1,200 or $1,400 for a 4L60E. So, you know, that's just the cost of going through it. Plus, you got to make a drive shaft. I just had some drive shafts modified, put slip yokes on them, and it was $500 a drive shaft for a 4-wheel drive. So there's $500. There's a random piece of hardware laying in the middle of the road that hopefully somebody's not missing from the hitch on their pickup. But yeah, all that stuff costs money. So if you're buying a basket case and it's missing a drive shaft and you got to have a drive shaft made, or you're buying this car that's got the wrong wheels and tires on it, or whatever it is, you know, check into that stuff. If you can't do it yourself, and it's, here again, interior's big bucks, you got to pay somebody to do it. Bodies, big bucks. Exhaust, you know, and if you were doing exhaust on a, you know, a 69 Camaro with a small block or big block or LS, you can buy kits to put it in and do it yourself. But it's still, those kits are almost always right at or as much as taking it somewhere. And if they don't fit, you got to modify it, or you still got to take it somewhere and have them modify it. So there's a lot to buying an old car, but I will guarantee you, I will swear on this all day up down. If your money ahead to buy a done car, absolutely. I don't care how good of a deal you got on a project or whatever, or a basket case, unless it's like some super rare big block, numbers matching, 4-speed, posi, SS, unless you have some crazy skill set, or all the skill sets. So, like, if you got $5,000 and you want that $25,000 car, buy some cheaper cars, flip them, save your money, do some work on the side for other people. If you can do rust repair and do it for your buddies and make a few bucks, do it. If you can roof, take on some weekend roofing jobs or concrete jobs or carpenter jobs, whatever, make a few bucks, then buy that $25,000 car. Don't buy the $5,000 car thinking you're going to fix it into a $25,000 car. Because I guarantee by the time you make it to that $25,000 car, you will have $40,000 into it every time. And I know when you buy that done car, you don't get to pick the color, you don't get to pick the power plant, you don't get to pick the ride height, you don't get to pick the suspension, the brakes, all that stuff. A lot of that stuff you can change, but you're going to be much happier with the car. And then it's instant gratification. You buy that $25,000 car that's running driving. You get to drive it home. You get to enjoy it immediately. You might not have the money to put the wheels you wanted on it or put the air ride on it or the air conditioning or whatever. That's the other thing, air conditioning. That's, I don't know, I think those kits are like $1,500 to $2,000 depending on what you are. So if that car's got air, that's a $1,500 check mark right there towards that car. So, and there again, you might say, I don't need air conditioning, but I tell you what, once you've had cruise control, overdrive air conditioning, the power of a V8 or fuel injection, the reliability, like it's hard to go back, man. After driving that dually that I got with a 6-liter in it, overdrive air conditioning, it still needs cruise. I gotta get that hooked up, but man, it's hard to want to drive this wind noise, rough riding, regular cab, 6-cylinder, 3 on the tree manual after driving something like that. So, and maybe you're one of those hardcore guys like, fuel injection is dumb and I can work on carburetors. Then by all means, avoid that stuff. But a good fuel injection, whether it be factory or an aftermarket setup like a Phytech or a Holley Sniper, Terminator, whatever, what will have you, it's hard to beat. I just noticed that everybody that I met on the road has either like gave me like a big wave or a nod. And that's something that you can't put a price on. Like, I don't care how fun it is to ride your jet ski. When you're on the lake and there's a million other jet skis around, you don't get that. That's why I like these rough around the edge vehicles, older cars, because they need some work, so I'm into them cheap, and I'm fine working on them. Like, you know, if this thing was all painted up and we were adjusting doors, I would be sweating bullets and so mad and angry. I wouldn't have my dog with me. We wouldn't be driving it on Good Friday when it's 30 degrees and the wind's blowing. But miles per gallon, you know, like it just, I don't know, like when little kids are like, cool car, or you're at the gas pumps and little old ladies are like, oh, I like your pickup, my husband had one of those back when we got married. Like, you can't put a dollar amount on stuff like that. So, and I mean, and there again, like a lot of the knowledge that I've gained is from doing this stuff, and the only way I'm going to gain that knowledge is by doing it. Like, I'm constantly learning new things, you know, like I didn't do rust repair. I probably did. I mean, I didn't ever weld until, you know, I was in high school. So before that I didn't weld, and then I didn't get into like body repair until probably I was in my upper 20s, you know, like, and I still haven't really even attempted to like do good paint or like filler work or stuff like that. We started doing like some glass replacement. Mojo and I have since I got him. I overhauled an engine when I was in high school, and having Mojo around, we've overhauled a bunch more, or at least really torn into them. I still haven't done anything with a manual or automatic transmission. Like, we replaced some seals and stuff like that. But what I'm getting at is driving these old cars, and you need to learn to fix the stuff yourself, because if you're going to take this car in and have it fixed, that's the other thing about buying a done car. If you're taking a car in and constantly getting it fixed and paying these shops, like it's, I don't know what the mechanics are like around you, it's $100 an hour around here. And they're booked up with late model stuff, and there's guys who like working on old stuff, but their bread and butter is late models, and it's, you know, alternators and belts and water pumps and brake jobs. And they got to diagnose and figure out what's wrong with a 62 Chevy 235 6-cylinder. They're not gonna be flat rate. It's gonna be $100 an hour, and it's gonna take them 3 hours to figure out something that should take a good old school mechanic, you know, a half hour or an hour. So what I'm getting at is fixing this stuff yourself and driving them every day, or as much as you can. You're constantly gaining knowledge, and so you're learning that stuff. You can be the go-to guy to get stuff fixed. So, I mean, there's just so many advantages to driving an old car, and everybody's situation is different, you know. If you're in the Midwest like me, like this has been an awful, like last winter I didn't get to drive any of my stuff, but this winter, it's, other than like, you know, 3 weeks of like snowstorms or salt on the road, you can see a bunch of salty spots that we drove over today, but I've been able to drive them year round. If you live somewhere where it like doesn't get below 40 degrees, man, you can drive these things year round. So, and you can drive them in the winter if you want, but it's, you know, especially in areas that salt the roads, you know, you're definitely gonna depreciate the vehicle that way. But, you know, if you buy that done car and you don't have to pay a shop to work on it, you're gonna save some money there. But those, you know, super nice done cars, and if you live in an area like this, you're gonna have to park it all winter. And if you're gonna have to park it all winter, you gotta store it. So you gotta have a shop to store it. If you don't have a place to store it, you probably should be looking at the $5,000 rig that can sit outside all year. We're just about to the old feed and seed of Jake's, so we're gonna grab some Duff chow. We'll check back in just a minute. Where was I talking about? I don't know. This is just going to be a whole lot of rambling and unorganized anyway. But we'll see you in a minute. Oh, that exhaust sounds so terrible. Glass packs are terrible. Rusty glass packs are terrible. Rusty single exhaust glass packs on 6 cylinders are the most terrible. Well, the other thing is like projects. If you're buying a project, like buy that project, that basket case that's in 1,000,000 pieces, and just set it all together, bolt it all together, and sell it, and make some money there. You don't have to get it. Everyone's like, why don't you finish cars? Because the money is not in finishing cars. The money is, in my opinion, is like cleaning them up, making them roll, put freaking tubes in the tires, or put different wheels and tires and stance. Man, that's what makes them dance. Wheels and tires and stance. Put set of rallies on, or a set of Kraggers or torque thrust or whatever on it, and get it sitting right and sell it. Doesn't even have to run, as long as it's just gotta look good. So buy the car that's in 1,000,000 pieces, spend a weekend drinking beer with your buddies, piece it all together, knock some dents out, buff the paint, vacuum the interior, and make money on it. But then you gotta have a trailer, you gotta have a place to do it, you gotta have tools, you gotta have know-how. Like, somebody gave me a Datsun 280Z, I could muddy my way through putting it together. But you want to go inside and see Jake? But I don't know a ton about 280Zs, but there again, that's how you learn. All right, we're gonna go say hi to Jake, see what he's doing. He's got a Smurf running out here, the old 9682 New Holland Versatile. Is that fun, Duff? All right, back to work. They're working on getting his Case IH corn planter ready, and working on a valve block on that New Holland Versatile blue Smurf thinger. All the fun stuff. Duff, you got all muddy, and you got my seat all muddy. And that's why I drive vehicles that are in the shape that this thing is in, because my muddy dog can get on the seat and I don't get awful upset. Like, I got one really nice car. I got a 63.5 Galaxy that I never really show because I never really drive it because it's too nice, and I hate worrying about scratching it and washing it. My Can't take Duff with because I got buco bucks into the interior and I don't want my dog scratching up the seat covers and all that good stuff. So yeah, nice cars. I can appreciate them because I can pick about anything apart, so I can appreciate how much work goes into a super nice car, but at the same time they're really not for me because they don't fit my lifestyle. They're harder to store. Can't really just jump in it and take my dog for a ride. Can't haul greasy, grimy engines in the back. Big get together at the Rope today. All the alcoholics are at the bar at 3:38. Okay, that's a holiday. What the heck? Holiday weekend. Can't give them too much grief. So yeah, I guess another thing is, you know, even though you can't afford a, you know, so say it's a $15,000 car, it's out of your budget, but go look at some $15,000 cars compared to the $5,000 cars you've been looking at in your budget, and see what the difference is, how many other things are wrong, and maybe there's some good deals on the $15,000 cars, or maybe you look at those cars and be like, yeah, I can do a lot better off by buying a $5,000 car that needs a little bit of work that I can do. And then if you buy that cheaper car, you can put the suspension you want on it and the wheels you want on it, if you got a little bit more money left in your budget. Where if you blow your entire budget, you can't, it's going to be hard to buy the wheels you want or upgrade the transmission or air conditioning or engine, stuff like that. So that's stuff to, you know, if you got a $5,000 budget, that car better be everything you want for $5,000 if you're going to be driving it, because if it needs exhaust, needs brakes, wheels, tires, whatever, transmission, and you're out of money, then that car's going to be sitting in your yard until you get the money. So stuff to keep an eye out for. There you go. Everybody waves at you, Duff, when you got a old pickup. So yeah, I guess, anything you can do to educate yourself, whether it's looking at cars, whether it's talking to people who have had the cars that you're interested in, helping people work on cars. That's another way to gain knowledge and abilities. And maybe if you go help a buddy out on his car and he's got some skills that you don't, when you get your car, he can help you out. So it's kind of a neat community, the car people. We're usually willing to help each other out, but at the same time, if you're not gonna help me out, I'm probably not gonna help you out. Unfortunately, that's kind of the way it is. I know of other people who have taken advantage of people, and when you take advantage of somebody, word gets around and nobody else is gonna want to help you out. And if you take advantage of me, I'm gonna tell all my buddies, and nobody else is gonna want to help you out. So it pays to be a good individual, even though we're not always all good individuals all the time. We try to be, right, Duff? We try to be nice people. We get kind of off subject here, but anyway, I think that's pretty much sums it up. Touched a lot of points. Know what your budget is, know what you want in the end game. Do you want that really nice car that you're just going to drive to shows on the weekend? Do you want a rough around the edges car that you can just enjoy? You can haul the leaves in, a beat up old square body to enjoy and take out mud running. Do you want a four-wheel drive? Do you want a two-wheel drive? Do you want it lowered? Do you want it stock height? Do you want a car? Do you got to haul kids? Do you got to haul engines? What are you going to use it for? Are you just going to take it to shows? Or do you want to do a little bit of both? You got to find that middle ground. You got to find something that, you can haul your lawnmower in to do your mowing jobs to pay for the junk that you're driving. And you still want to take it to shows on Saturday? Or is it something you absolutely don't care about? You just want to drive and enjoy? And that's kind of where I'm at. I just like driving and enjoying. I go to, I don't even know. Car shows last year, maybe 4 or 5 small ones. I like the small, like Wednesday night ones, Thursday night ones, local ones. You swing in, see the cars, maybe see myself and Puddin', we're gonna be slinging merch. We're gonna be kissing hands and shaking babies April 19th and 20th at the Lone Star Roundup, Austin, Texas. Be there, be square. Duff's gonna be running the shop, so reach out to him at mortskerepair@gmail.com. He won't be there in person. He doesn't like meeting other people, or I don't know, maybe he does, but he's not gonna be at the fairgrounds, and I don't think they allow dogs anyway, and that would be mass chaos, wouldn't it, Duff? He'd be doing who knows what. So yeah, come say hi to us, Lone Star Roundup. Wooden will be there, Chin will be there, Mickelson will be there. Yeah, and I don't know who Wooden's bringing with him. Slick, maybe Bill, maybe not. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see some more stuff on buying, test driving, checking out old cars, what to look for, things to avoid. Like I said, bad body work, something to avoid. Projects that are missing parts, something to avoid. You know, projects are, there's some gold out there. Like you can find a project, you can make a ton of money. You know, guys are losing money on them all the time, but at the same time, guys aren't getting rich building these cars unless they built it 40 years ago and hung on to it, or it's like a clean original. So, buying done car is your money ahead. I know it seems like a lot of money, but at the same time you spend $30,000 on an old car, there's a lot of $30,000 late models guys are driving every day, getting shopping cart dents in it, letting their kids slobber popsicles all over. So that's the way I look at it. Like, around where I'm at, there's $70,000, $80,000 3/4 ton diesels everywhere. So I feel like there's an old car that I really, really wanted, and it was $70,000. What the heck, buy it. It's an investment. It's what I enjoy. I can store it. I can maintain it. I can take care of it, and it's gonna appreciate value. Where you buy a $70,000 diesel pickup that you drive and tow and do whatever with, it's just going to depreciate every single day, and you still got to maintain it, you still got to insure it, you still got to store it, put tires on it, brakes, all that good stuff. And it's probably nicer to drive, but will you enjoy it more? That's something you need to decide. What do you like? Maybe you just like watching me struggle through all this stuff and watching me ramble on, and for that, I appreciate you.
That's what I appreciate about you.
So yeah, comment down below with what, if you guys want to see some more, we can do some rambling maybe on the second channel, talk about tips for selling cars, tips for buying cars. I've always been talking about doing this, like, hey, we go look at a car that, you know, I'm not, you know, like I might buy, but like maybe give the guy a few bucks for letting us take his car to test drive and pick it apart. You know, especially cars for sale. It's like, hey, here's $100. Let me look at your car and film it and offend you. And I don't buy the car. It would be a lot cheaper than me buying a car, just giving the guy $100 to rip apart his car. So maybe we could do a series about that. We could do a test drive. I got a buddy that's been looking for like a 68 to 72 Chevelle for I don't know how long, and we've looked at so many cars online, and we've looked at a couple in person, and I'm just like, I hate the muscle car market. I don't see the value in these cars that they're getting. Like, I mean, $15,000 in like the 68 72 muscle car is you get an absolute headache for $15,000. But we could go looking at some cars, and like I said, I'm a subject matter expert on a few cars, especially, you know, flathead Ford era cars, and you know, 60 to 87 Chevy pickups. Know a fair amount, but a lot of that stuff carries over. You know, bodywork, brakes, tires, exhaust, mechanicals. That's you're gonna see that on every car. But we're a 62 Pontiac Catalina rust out compared to a 85 Chevy four-wheel drive square body rust out. It's two different things. So you you got to know a little bit more. You got to get down into the fine details, not just rust, but where they would have rust and where it would have been covered up. So again, going back to buying nice original paint vehicles is a solid investment in my opinion. And that's the thing about these old cars, they're not making any more of them, so it seems like they're a pretty good investment to me. But what do I know? We might lose the shop tomorrow because all these stupid old cars I got around. Speaking of old cars, if you want to buy one, we got a bunch for sale at mortske.com. Go check them out. There's a video on every one of those ones. So that's the beauty of buying a car from me, is you know what you're getting, because I pick my own cars apart and I show you guys, and I don't hide nothing, because I bought some blower motors that are blown up, and I've bought cars that, you know, would supposedly do wheelies, and I've been lied to in every which way, so it's no fun. So I wouldn't pass that on to anybody else. But yeah, I think that's where we're gonna wrap her up. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe. We got Patreon if you want to support us there. We got memberships. I don't ever mention it, but I appreciate all you members out there. A lot of you members have been members forever, and I don't give anything back to our members, and that's something that we need to, we're looking at working into, you know, maybe sending you guys some decals, or giving you first dibs on stuff, or maybe some behind the scenes footage that everybody can't see. So I appreciate all you subscribers out there, and I do owe you tremendously, and we're gonna work on that in the future. But we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You can go check out the Morske Repair fan group on Facebook page. That's where we're gonna have the submittals for the greasy ball cap competition coming up May 5th. So that's about it. Remember, it doesn't matter to get it done so long as you're having fun. Driving old pickups is fun, and everybody waves at you, even people with their cat-eye Duramaxes. All right, on to the next one, Duff.